So the Bethesda game formula, right? It's like a home cooked meal that just like Mama used to make. It's just you know what to expect when you have a Bethesda game studio.
I don't know. I think Mom's cooking was better.
Fried cabbage. But no, you know what to expect. You pick up a new Bethesda title, a new Bethesda game studio title. Now, usually that's the same three, right? It's Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and now Starfield.
I mean, is Starfield going to remain a franchise?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I like Starfield not as much as the Elder Scrolls or Fallout, but we'll get to why later.
I mean, personally, of the three, I only like Fallout. Really, the Elder Scrolls. I'm not a big fantasy guy. I mean, I like fantasy, but like everyone does a fantasy.
Not a big fantasy guy. Your whole identity for years was like worshiping at the altar of Arthas Menethil.
Okay, that's different though. That's the one that was. I still do. That's never
Number
stopped.
one, I still worship at that altar. All right. Number two.
Number two, I guess the thing with like that stuff, at least that has like fantasy for me has to be one, an interesting world or a cool world, and then two, interesting and cool characters and an interesting story. Three, Elder Scrolls has some of those in some of those games.
Elder Scrolls has components of those things I mentioned.
Like Oblivion had some really story stuff, interesting story stuff. Morrowind had the interesting world, and then Skyrim lets you shout at people off cliffs.
Skyrim let you shout.
No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Before we get into like the main, I'll say why I don't like Skyrim and that kind of stuff as much.
We are 3 minutes in, and Dark Frost has already gone off on a whining tangent.
Not a whining tangent. It's just it has to do with their engine. It has to do with their gameplay. It's just so bland.
Okay. What?
It's the Kraft mac and cheese of fantasy.
Are you okay? Specifically talking, but so we're just talking about when you pick up a Bethesda game, when you pick up an Elder Scrolls game, you pick up a Fallout game, you pick up Starfield, you know what you're in for. You're going to create a character, you're going to assign skill points, and it's going to be a big open sandbox that in whatever setting, post-apocalyptic.
I mean, you don't always assign
what
skill points, though, right?
Say again.
Oh, you don't. You said you assign skill points, but you don't assign skill points in Skyrim, do you?
Yeah.
I mean, you go down the tree once you level up that skill, but you don't put point. You level up by swinging the sword, and then you can put points.
You still assign points in a skill tree.
Okay, I was thinking more like the special system where you like create your character and then and I was like, I don't remember like a special like system.
Which we'll get to that. So things that are in all things that are in all Bethesda Game Studio games, right? You've got the people...
ever since Daggerfall? No, Morrowind. Morrowind was the first one.
So
ever since Morrowind.
Specifically, I want to talk about ones after that customized Havoc engine they had for Oblivion, because I think Morrowind and Oblivion were different enough. They didn't have that same kind of vibe.
Well, wait. You say we're going to put Morrowind on the cutting room floor, and that's not going to be part of this discussion?
No, we can't.
It takes place beforehand.
In fact, it will be the baseline, because that was the game right before they changed over to the Havoc engine, right?
I do like Morrowind. Of the three, I like Morrowind. Yeah.
But I also like Oblivion. I like Skyrim. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm too artur for Skyrim when I have 300 hours in vanilla and then like 600 hours in modded Goaty.
I think that's my problem. I'll get to that. But one thing is that you do have to mod a lot of their stuff to make it fleshed out, I guess.
So things that are in all Bethesda games, okay? You just know it is. So you've got to create. You're going to create a character.
So you create a character. You have the hero's journey.
The hero's journey. You're always some kind of special person.
Yeah, the world always revolves around you.
Yeah, you've got your world changer. All right, you're an earth shaker. You're gonna have weird dialogue where you're gonna have to, like, the camera zooms in on the person and they just stare holes through you.
I've always hated that. That's why I was so glad when Fallout 4 they made where the camera pulled out and stared at the sides of the characters rather than just like, because first of all, you already have terrible character models. I don't want to stare that closely at them. And then two, it's just an awkward, like, give me some film where they're at least offset to the side, like Rules of Three or something. Jesus.
You get so triggered. I love it.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, that dialogue system. Yeah. We'll come back to that. Don't worry, we'll hit the dialogue system. It's
like a chain chomp. You gotta rub me in.
Usually made to be played in first person, but can be played in third person. Physics and traps. Yeah,
the world being able to manipulate most objects in the space. It was one of the first games I do recall. I'm sorry, their games were one of the first ones I do recall where it's like, oh. To be cliche and use their own marketing tag, you see that mountain over there? You can climb it.
Well, you can go to it. If you have a horse, you can climb it. You can go straight up that sucker.
No, what you do is you jump, triangle, 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 and you zigzag, finding all the little divots that your character... You're going to spend 3 days doing that instead of just going around the mountain.
It depends on the game. Because in, like, the earlier games, you could, when you jumped, you trained, what was it, athletics, I think it was? Or acrobatics. You trained acrobatics.
Yes, acrobatics, because that's how I would do it. I would crouch and jump everywhere.
So, well, let's start at the beginning of the formula I'm talking about. Really didn't come into being until Oblivion, because it was the big crossover from Morrowind to Oblivion, Elder Scrolls 3 to 4, and it was the crossover from Xbox technology to Xbox 360 technology. That game space. I played
when they discovered the beautiful world of what was it, Bloom?
Bloom. Everything in Bloom is over Bloom.
Oh God, your forehead.
Hey, I've got my lights angled down.
Wait, I didn't say you're an Oblivion character.
Stop! You violated the law.
Morrowind was fun. I enjoyed a lot of things about Morrowind. If I could get Morrowind in like a Fallout 76 or a Skyrim, that era of time engine, that'd be dope as hell. Yeah, that'd be cool.
So the new Oblivion remake, rumored Oblivion remake, you'd play?
If it's on Game Pass, I'm not going to go out of my way to play it. Kind of thing.
If I was walking down the street and I look down and I say, oh, look, there's an Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion just laying on the sidewalk, I'd pick it up.
As long as it was face up. You don't want to do face down. It's bad luck right there. You see it.
So did you not like Oblivion? Obviously, you didn't like it as much as Mark.
Well,
you didn't like it the setting. You didn't like that Oblivion was, because Central Cyrodiil is the setting of Oblivion, and it was very vanilla Eastern European fantasy.
Well, I don't mind I don't mind realistic settings. That's not my problem. Like, the fact that it was more realistic settings compared to the more fantastical of Morrowind wasn't my issue. It was just, at the time, yes, Oblivion... I have no beef with Oblivion itself. My beef is with Skyrim, and then Bethesda, like...
So it's not the fact that you're not appreciating the game. You got beef.
Yeah, because like Oblivion, I have no big takeaway from Oblivion because it was during like a black hole period because it was only on Xbox 360.
We moved from Morrowind to Oblivion. We gained a lot of things like physics, fully voiced characters, fully voiced dialogue. Everything was voiced. We lost things like
3D textures.
Yeah, 3D textures.
Because a lot of things are flat. Yeah.
Khajiit lost their digigrade or digitigrade feet. Same thing with Argonians. We also lost a lot of weapon classes because Morrowind had like spears and shurikens and throwing knives, and there was none of that in Oblivion.
So unfortunately, I played Morrowind after the 360 came out. I had gotten so someone gave me their Xbox. Like,
Oh, so you played
someone
it
gave me their.
years later.
Yeah, I played it years later. I think it was after Oblivion already came out, so I'd already seen you play Oblivion and everything. And someone gave me an old Xbox and a copy of Morrowind or something like that, and Gun. It was Gun and Morrowind were the two games I had. So I was like, oh, cool, I'll play these and see what these are like.
When Oblivion first came out, because it was the first time I'd seen this new formula that they would go on to use. It was, the graphics blew me away. One of the first voices you hear in the game is freaking Patrick Stewart as Uriel Septim.
I do remember that. That was being a big Star Trek fan. Let me just piss everyone off real quick.
Fan. Patrick Stewart, who famously voiced Jabba the Hutt.
That was Darth Vader, right?
That was Darth Vader. Who's your favorite Enterprise captain? James Earl Jones? Darth Vader.
Yeah. But yeah, that was
City Gaming.
that was a good
Canceled.
You know what was really upsetting though about me for me? The fact that he's only in it for like 20 minutes and then that's it.
20 minutes? That's how long it took you to get through the tutorial?
Well, I mean, it took me an hour and a half to customize my character.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's fair. You're a prisoner too. That's another thing. That's exclusive to like the Elder Scrolls series, but you're always a prisoner. You're a prisoner. You wake up a prisoner in Morrowind. You wake up a prisoner in Oblivion. You're a prisoner in Skyrim. I thought it was really great. The first thing that blew everyone's minds, and you have to understand, or I know you understand, but like a lot of the viewers, like younger viewers, you won't understand. You spawn, if you've ever played Oblivion, you spawn into that jail cell, and it has the shackles and chains hanging from the ceiling, and you can grab and move them, and it let go, and they'll swing, and it's all physics based, and that blew our goddamn minds back in the day. It was the first time you could do anything. It was anything resembling physics in an Elder Scrolls game, because in Morrowind, if you remember, do you remember the sorcerer?
Plus persistence too. Didn't it have persistence?
Yes.
Yeah, so those are the two: manipulation and persistence.
Do you remember in Morrowind there is the sorcerer who's been experimenting with the scrolls of Icarian flight, and he falls from the sky.
Okay, thank God. I was going to say, please tell me that one, because like it's been so long since I played that game. I only remember like a few little tidbits here and there. Yeah, because you come across his corpse.
Yeah.
On the other.
You hear him screaming. At first, if you walk forward, if you're walking in the area and you're looking in the area, you hear this. And he falls from the sky, and he lands, and he dies on impact because fall damage. But there's no physics in Morrowind, so he falls in a straight line, hits the ground, and his character model stops in a standing position, T-poses, and then goes bleh, and falls down dead.
Okay, see, I've never seen the actual landing part. I always found his body after, because I would hear but I would never know. I assumed it was tied to that, but I never knew like in game he actually fell. I just assumed it was like a trigger. You walk through an area, the sound triggers, and then you find the body. Because I'd never seen it happen.
No, he actually falls from the sky.
Nice. But yeah,
in Oblivion,
don't use those boots though, or those scrolls though, unless you know where bodies of water are.
We mapped out where you could safely jump using those scrolls, and you would land in water every time. Anyways, that guy falls from the sky, and it doesn't have any physics model, so it has to reset him into the like I am the corpse model, right? So you can loot his body. In Oblivion, fall damage, you hit someone with a sword, their body goes ragdolling downstairs, their weapon can go flipping up through the air. It was really cool.
Well, I mean, that came out, you said 2006. 2006 was the era of the ragdoll. Like, I kind of miss the era of the ragdoll. Like, it kind of went away. Some enemies are too stiff now. For in the opposite direction, because, yeah, that was the Force Unleashed was coming out around that time. And it was, big thing was, like, look at our ragdoll physics. Look how they grab onto stuff when you bring them up on stuff.
It was, when did Dark Messiah come out? Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. Because that was... physics was a big thing in that game too.
07, 08.
And then speaking of that, Avowed's when you whack an enemy with a great sword in that game and they die, they'll go flying. It was a huge upgrade, and it wasn't until I was playing a ton of Oblivion that I started to miss some of the weapon options and armor options. I didn't like the way glass armor looked in Oblivion when compared to Morrowind, and some of the weapon designs. But they grew on me, and I got really immersed in that world. I played a ton of Oblivion.
What was your problem with the glass in Oblivion? I mean, I remember it looking like green soda glass kind of thing.
It just looks like green tinted armor with like a sheen to it. But in Morrowind, glass armor glass was more crystalline, and so you had like these crystal shard formations coming off your like pauldrons and your gauntlets.
So it looked more like it was naturally formed as opposed to carved.
The sword was very angular and looked like it was constructed from crystalline shards.
Okay, see, I don't remember.
It looked very like crafted glass.
Yeah, I remember the Oblivion because I remember like the one that you could steal in the first town or something like that.
Is glass armor
under the little case
that had the like little Zaku commander fin thing coming off the top of it?
I want to say
like a fin or something coming off of it. So Oblivion had a lot of upscale over Morrowind, but you lost a lot of like mystique because everything was fully voiced, and because everything was fully
not just fully voiced, but everything was just so polished.
Half of the dialogue and lore in Oblivion than it was in Morrowind. Because in Morrowind, you'd have a big old paragraph to read through with words that you could highlight and ask questions about. And in Oblivion,
so didn't they have voice acting in Morrowind?
They had limited voice acting in Morrowind. Not everyone was.
Okay. Okay, I guess I'll just.
There were voices. Like you could walk by some people and they would say like, "Hail, citizen," or something like that.
I need to go through and play Morrowind again. Let's talk about it because it's been over 15 years now.
Should we play it on the channel? Should we stream it? So you don't have a ton of memories of playing Oblivion.
Oblivion, no, like I said, I didn't play Oblivion much. I only played probably about maybe 10 hours of Oblivion total.
So the next game to come out to use that Bethesda Game Studios engine was Fallout 3. Did you play a lot of Fallout 3?
Yes, I played a lot. I played more of Fallout 3 because I love the setting of Fallout. I've always loved Fallout. I didn't get to play the originals, but I was aware of them, and I liked the art style and the lore was just interesting to me because I was a big fan of StarCraft, so I like the whole futuristic but like it's fucked up kind of thing. I love cyberpunk kind of thing where it's like, hey, shit's cool because it's futuristic, but at the same time we still kind of suck and shit still kind of sucks, you know.
Man, you'd love Warhammer. What are you talking about? But back to Fallout 3, which was the next game. I thought Fallout 3. So Fallout 3 was my first encounter with the Fallout series. I knew the Fallout universe existed. I knew the old isometric games existed, but I'd never played any of those. Fallout 3 was my first. It was my introduction, and when I first played it, I was like, "This is just post-apocalyptic Oblivion with guns." Not a bad thing. That's not me saying, "Oh, this is ugh." But it was like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is Oblivion post-apocalyptic with guns.
I mean, that's pretty much what they did. Was they were like, hey, we bought this IP. It's now ours. We're just gonna shove it into our game engine and be like, how do these work together?
That's what it is. That's the Bethesda formula. They took a new setting and they just crammed it into it. So we've got the same zoom-in dialogue. We've got the same really weird, like uncanny valley, vacant, soulless eyes, like talking into the screen, type thing. The skill system, I will say this, the skill system from Oblivion to Fallout 3, with every game that's come out, the skill system has gotten simplified. Because in Oblivion, you had a bunch of attributes, you picked a class, you assigned skill points to like a myriad level of there was like 20 different skills, and then you had special abilities. And then in Fallout 3, you had the special system, which were like attribute points. And then you had skills points that went into like 20 different things.
That reminds me.
I don't know why. Dark Fries tangent.
not necessarily, but
an hour later.
You just need that. What is it from Aqua Teen Hunger Force? The robot that would tell the stories and the clouds would come in and all that. Thousands of years ago when my what was I saying? Oh yeah, no. So talking about Fallout 3076, there's also Elder Scrolls Online too. That also, I wonder how the stats work, because what made me think of is you said the stats are getting easier,
Or more
our skills are more simplified, but like I don't know if I want to say they're necessarily getting easier. They're just different. Like, because originally you would, from in Oblivion, you know, and I don't know if it was in Morrowind like that, but in Oblivion, you would do the action to unlock, to level up. Like, you run places, you will get an endurance. Jump places, you get better acrobatics. You know, like shoot bows to get better bows, swing swords to get, you know, so on and so forth. Except I don't think the only time that didn't work is you didn't talk to get better at charisma, which was weird.
You had to do the mini game. There was a conversation mini game in Oblivion that you would, I think it was like flatter, intimidate, coerce.
I thought that was just during bartering.
You could do it to anyone to raise their level. I know, because I played it so much and I loved it, because when you went in, when you talked to a person, the camera did that weird Bethesda like zoom in on their face thing, right? And then you would talk to them, and they would be just talking to you with normal, neutral face. Or if they were being friendly, they might have a little smile. But then you clicked on, like, I forget what it was. It was bribe. Oh no, bribe was one of the options on the wheel. But it was like enter into that social mini game, and their face.
Yeah, it was like a little like meter looking
their
button.
Their face would change depending on their demeanor towards you. And so they'd be talking, but if they like didn't like you and you clicked on that option, they may have been talking to you with a normal face, but then it would do this weird, like, you'd click on them, they'd go, and I'm like, oh, they must not like me. And it's like, and then you would bribe, coerce, intimidate, whatever, and they'd like you more and more. And then by the end of it, if you had them maxed out, their smile's like.
And then the smiles in Oblivion were, I mean,
creepy, like, uncanny valley. It was like freaking Jack Nicholson's The Joker, just like.
Yeah.
Switching over to Fallout, which to me, Fallout was just Oblivion with guns at the time. They simplified things a little bit, but there were a lot of people who were like, "Oh my gosh, this isn't Fallout. This isn't gritty like the Fallout I grew up with older gamers." And I had no context because it was my first encounter.
See, I was part of that era at the time too, because I was like, Bethesda, why? Because Diablo 3 was on the horizon, so, and
that's a different.
How they cartoonified that.
That's a different kettle of fish.
Right.
So I liked Fallout 3. I played the hell of it, played all the DLC. I was never a big fan, and this is something that's translated over even to current Fallout games. I've never been a big fan of the energy weapons. I've never been a big fan of energy weapons in any of the Bethesda games. Like,
go on. I'm listening.
In Starfield, there were plenty of energy weapons in Starfield, but I preferred the ballistic weapons. Both look, sound, impact, gameplay.
Well, I mean, Starfield a whole. None of the guns to me felt good in Starfield.
We'll get to Starfield.
None of them felt like they should have, at least. But like, what specifically bugs you about the energy weapons in Fallout?
I think what soured me to the energy weapons was the way that the skill system affected accuracy. So I'm putting points into, like, because I think in Fallout 3 you had a difference between small guns and long guns, like sidearms and long guns.
It was small guns, big guns, and then heavy weapons.
And then there's also energy weapons. It's its own separate thing. And I think it's energy small guns, energy large guns.
Well, no, it was just energy, and then I think you also needed some science.
Science, that was another thing too. So it's been a while, right? But I think it was just when I played Fallout 3, the energy weapons just felt like pew pew flashlights. Plasma felt a little bit better, but the lasers specifically, I like the way they looked. I like the lore behind them, but
Fallout 3 I played mostly in VATS, so.
I've almost always played my Fallout games in VATS, except 4. 4's got decent enough shooting that you can get by without VATS. But I still mainly try and use it. sometimes you run out of AP.
That is one of the biggest issues, especially with more modern games. Is like AP is like stamina at this point, where it's just like stamina. It's stamina at this point.
Fallout
rather
4
than
literally is, because when you sprint, you
saving 76. Yeah, you gotta slow down, and then it's just it's less. Not that I'm one of those like it's gotta be tactical, man. Not that I'm saying it's gotta be like that, but like give me some reason to use it. The reason I used it was because I played with the controller, especially on the Fallout 3 time period. I played with the controller, and because that controllers were so inaccurate back then, especially the in-game settings or whatever. So I'd use that to get headshots, to blow off their arms, or to cripple people. I'd wanted to do the cool stuff, not just bang, 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 you're dead.
I loved the VAT system. I liked watching my bullets fly through the air. It's the same thrill I get from playing like Sniper Elite series.
Yeah, and then the stealth kills for Tenchu series.
Yeah,
like when you line up a nice stealth kill. Like you could kill them the other ways, sure, and then not always get the cinematic kills sometimes too. But like when you get that cinematic kill,
when they brought the cinematic kills, or like because they never had VATs in the Elder Scrolls game, but they did bring like kill animations into Skyrim, and that was
kill animations, kill cams, or whatever you want to call them. Yeah,
was to download the finishing blow animations.
It was weird that they only had them in the third-person mode. That only people like who hated themselves, like me, would play to get those.
They did
because I prefer the animations over, and then playing it because I prefer third-person over first-person anytime usually.
Dark Frost is third-person,
and unless it's like because Fallout, not Fallout, which is weird considering Half-Life is one of my favorite IP franchises ever, and it's a first-person.
There's so much in a Bethesda Game Studios game to interact with that I find it hard to like interface with the world in third person. Does that make sense? Like, in Fallout, you could be like, oh, there's an ammo crate hidden behind this desk. If you look at it from this angle, I can get into it. That I never would have seen in third person. Or like trying to pick up certain things off of a table.
And then that brings up a good comparison with that would be like a Avowed. Avowed allows you to turn off and on the glow around items thing. I have that on. It comes on as default, but I keep it on.
Not intrusive.
I keep it on though because I do play in third person, so it is easier for me, especially the way I play adventure games. If you want me to side tangent, if you want me to play an open world game or a game where I'm playing a detective and search every cranny, those should be separate. I don't want to do one of the other. Don't give me this thing where it's like, okay, we put secrets all in this open world that is a pain in the ass to get around, and you have. Sorry, I was playing the Golden Circle recently, and there's a part with a giant snake and water and fuck water levels. Sorry, side tangent.
I was angry.
But yeah,
spicy.
Sorry, it's just nothing frustrates me more than when it's like, hey guys, we know most of this game is like, this game's good, but you know what? Fuck the player. I don't want it to be this good. We need to have something that just makes people like. I want to tweak my nipple knowing people are having a bad time right now. Okay, like cable companies, and it's just parts where it's a pain in the ass to backtrack, missable items because they hit it in the whatever. And it's like
are you talking about Indiana Jones? Or are you talking about Avowed?
Indiana Jones in terms of the backtracking and the. Because Indiana Jones is a semi-open world too, in the vein of Avowed.
Where you
like
go
it's
to,
got
there is an area that is open world, and you're things in this area.
Yeah, with fast travel and everything. Like it's you know, in fact, those are the better levels too, because the levels that are more like linear they're cool set pieces, but it's like I feel like I'm playing now an Uncharted game rather than the Indiana game I was playing, but that's neither here nor there.
So, was there anything you liked better about what they implemented in Fallout from Oblivion? Because I'll tell you one thing, I think they used the same kind of stealth system. Because in Oblivion, you could enchant your armor with something called Chameleon, And if you had multiple parts of your armor enchanted with chameleon, you just freaking turned invisible. And the enemies or the AI didn't know how to deal with that. And so you could just shoot them or hit them with a sword, and they'd be like, "What's happening?" As their body just skids across the floor from every hit. And then in Fallout 3, you could get stealth
most of what you're stealth boys, and then considering most of the enemies you're facing were like not really intelligent enemies, it's kind of hard to be like, is it more the the game or is it the characters kind of thing?
Yeah,
I guess. So I didn't really notice because one, I don't really play stealth in those games too much. Like if I was playing a Dishonored, I'd play stealth, but like
what? You didn't play a stealth archer? That's the build.
Not good. I tried, but it was boring.
It is a very kind of boring. Like I'll play a stealth archer if I'm playing like a thief or something, but it's more fun for me to like sneak in close and go in with like the dagger takedowns or stuff like that.
Well, okay, we haven't got to Skyrim yet. I'll save it when we get to Skyrim.
We're about to get to Skyrim, though. We're going to skip over New Vegas. That was Obsidian. And while it still very much fits the formula of Bethesda games,
they had competent writers on that one, so we can't count it in this series.
The only thing I will say about Fallout New Vegas is I hated that game for a while. I hated that game because it sucked me in with good writing, good game systems, and I really liked playing it, but it was so unfreaking stable that I was never able to beat it. The game would soft lock or crash out, or I'd lose save files. I didn't beat it until years later.
Well, I mean, I haven't beat any Bethesda title, I don't believe. Yeah, I don't think I've ever beat a Bethesda title.
That's another hallmark of a Bethesda Game Studios game, is spending so much time doing everything except the main story.
Yeah, none of them I could tell you how the main story ended because I never cared enough to get there. Because there was never enough of a carrot on the stick for me to go chasing down that pathway when everything else had much bigger and tastier carrots. So, and then once you get to like 100+ hours in the same game world, you're like, look, I got other things to do.
Okay, okay, we're about to get into the Dark Frost super tangent area because we're gonna go to Skyrim. Tell us your thoughts on Skyrim, Dark Frost.
Well, one, aesthetically it's very ugly. It's a very ugly game.
So you don't like the very Viking Norse aesthetic?
Not the art direction. Just the engine's art style is ugly. Like, sure, they have more polygons, so the characters are more modeled than they were in Oblivion, but like all the colors used are flat and boring. All the textures used are. I mean, granted, I didn't get super into like parts of the world, so maybe there's like a cave somewhere that's like badass looking or whatever. But for the most part,
how long did you spend playing Skyrim?
Over time, probably about 25 hours.
That's it?
Yeah. I didn't care to continue.
I mean, okay, that's fine. I just wanted to like
the most fun I had.
You got into it because I have literally hundreds and hundreds of hours.
There was nothing to because I'm not. I know if part of you like it is because you like the lore of the universe or whatever. I don't care about the lore of the universe like I do Fallout. So like, there's none of that thread pulling me on. It's more just like, hey, this is it's a sandbox adventure game. I want to go fantasy game. I want to go do carve my own story or whatever, right? But it's you're the chosen one. You got to choose between these two.
It's the Bethesda formula.
The dragon fight was cool. The main issue. Okay, here's how my experience with Skyrim went. Okay. So I bought it when it came out. I bought it day one at GameStop when it came out, along with which Batman game came out around that time?
Arkham City.
Arkham City? Okay, so yeah, I bought both of those at the same day. Both brand new at GameStop. Well, I say I bought. My girlfriend at the time bought me these two for my, but they were full price PS3 games for my birthday.
That's an investment.
So I'm like, yay, I'm excited. This is great. Let me go home and play these on my PS3. Foreshadowing on that one right there. It's the Fallout 3 in New Vegas played pretty decently. Like I didn't have the compatibility issues like you did on Fallout or New Vegas because I played on a PS3. Well, let me explain the whole story. Okay, so I have extreme ADHD. So like if the game is a slog to get through, right? Me ADHD? What? No. So I bought the game. PS3. That was the whole thing originally. Was PS3. We were foreshadowing to why that's a bad idea to buy it on PS3. I don't think PS4 had quite launched yet. I think that was 2 years away. But so I bought it, took it home. First, I played Batman because Batman was fucking awesome. The first game was
so good.
Yeah, the first game was
so
dope
good.
as hell. That one was dope as hell. So I'm just playing that first. And finally, I'm like, okay, let's see what this Skyrim's all about. I finally get to get on the ground floor of one of these Elder Scrolls games. And rather than playing it decades later or like never. Load it up, got to install it, whatever, fine. So I'd installed Metal Gear Solid 3 or 4.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah, okay.
That was an all-day thing.
Right, and then each time you went through different chapters, that's another story. So I install it, start playing it. I'm like, cool, it's installed. Thinking if it's installed, I won't have the issue of all the older Bethesda titles with loading screens every 2 fucking frames you go through. No, let me loading game. Okay, game's loaded up. Blah blah blah. You're not supposed to be here or whatever. Or it's where you wake up in the cart, right? It's the cliche of that thing that's memed to death now. You wake up there, go through that, do that little section there. I'm like, okay, cool. There was only like 1 or 2 loading sections there. Like, I don't even
in the
one.
tower, and you come out of the tower.
I'm like, sweet. This is already showing that the game's playing better and everything. Yes. Let me go to the next town. Oh, there's a cave over there. Let me go to that cave first. Load screen to the cave. Oh, hey. Okay, that sucks, but now I'm in this tiny little cave that had to load in by itself for some reason. And then, let me go all the way through here. Oh, gotta load that. Loading. Anytime you went through any transition, there was a fucking loading screen. Towns. Like I'd go to all the way up to the Whiterun, where you get your first. You meet the Jarl or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, you important man? Yes, let's go kill dragons or whatever." Here's a house. He gives you a house. I'm like, yes, I have a house now. I'm a badass with a house. Let me go do shit with my house, right?
Finally, a fantasy game where I can live out my fantasies of being a homeowner.
Yes, I wanted. Ever since I remember you playing probably Fallout 3. Now thinking about it, was that the one where you had the? Yeah, that's one of the ones where you had a house, right? Where one of the places. Yeah, that was where you could like put your stuff on the shelves and everything.
I think that
and it would stay there.
3 had that.
Like in the Megaton house or whatever.
I think 3 had it. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I remember watching you do something like that where you could like. I mean, it's tedious because you have to, Bethesda manipulate everything, dragging it on stuff.
Just put this orange soda bottle on this shop.
Yes, so many times myself.
One of my favorite things to do was in Oblivion, you could spellcraft, and I created a fireball. This fireball did 1 damage over like a 500-foot area. And so I'd go into a bookshop, and then I'd cast that, and it was just like, the game would lag as all the like books and stuff caught fire and flew around the inside. I'm sorry,
Nice.
Continue.
Oh no, you're good.
So you wanted a house. You got the house from the Jarl in Whiterun.
Oh yeah. So I got that, and I'm like, okay, so I want to do all that. I want to, sims it up a little bit, a little thing. Well, okay, you got to look. Either if you go into town, or if you go from the Jarl's house to the main district, there's a loading screen there. Then you got the loading screen from that loading screen into your loading screen for your front door. And then when you're in your front door, if you want to go up to the top of your house, I know there's like 2 or 3 loading screens between Whiterun and your house for some reason.
There's
like
one when you come out of the Jarl's castle or longhouse, whatever.
Yeah, or if you pop into the front gate, yeah.
And then you go, and then it's just another loading screen into your house, from your front door into your house. But vanilla
Either way,
vanilla
yeah, the original
Skyrim
on
launch,
PS3.
on PS3 had some like
It took
chunky,
5 minutes to freaking load
like
every
45
time.
second to like 2-minute load screen sometimes.
Like, I got sick and tired of their new loading screens where it's like they show off the character models. I got so sick and tired of seeing those character models. Because it's like, yes, that's the troll. That's how big the troll is. Yes, the troll will knock you across the screen. Can I stop staring at the troll? I just want to put stuff in my storage. Oh, thank you. Put. Now let me leave. 25 days later. Yay, I'm back in the first quest. Anyways, so I dropped it. I completely dropped it on PS3. I couldn't play it. I was like, this is terrible. I cannot play this. This is garbage. I cannot play a game where I'm spending more time loading screens than I'm playing the actual game. You know how we're talking about we only have like an hour or so of, to put aside. If I'm spending 2/3 of that loading, I'm wasting time.
So
Mass Effect, the elevators,
I think the reason I had such a better experience than you did is I did play on console. I played on Xbox 360, I think, back in the day.
Well, I had a better time later when I played it on PS4 with the PSVR headset.
I didn't play all that much time on console back then. When I put in my hundreds of hours was when I got it on PC, and the loading times were like 10 seconds when they were long. We've already touched on it a little bit, but like Fallout 4 is just the same thing, but they simplified. Let's go back to Skyrim. So in Skyrim, they simplified the skills and the attributes even further.
How did it work in that one? I know, like, if you would blacksmith, you would level up the blacksmithing.
You still gain thing, but in Oblivion, you would level up and you could choose, like, I think it had a tier system where you picked one skill, you got like 10 points in, and then you picked another one, you got 5 in, you picked another one, you got 3 in every time you leveled up. And then you had all these different attribute points. But in Skyrim, it was you did it and you unlocked, like, your skill went up. And every time your skill went up, you got XP. And you had to level up to spend a point in a skill tree, but you had to have enough skill in that tree to put the point in.
Oh, that's right. It was the system where it was like, this is one-handed weapons, and the more you use a one-handed weapon, you will get one-handed experience. And but you have to get to certain tiers before, right, and then you can put a point into it, and then it would fork off into different ways.
We're kind of jumping a bit, but I'm working on a video right now where I talk about that Starfield. Starfield has, honestly, it has a little bit more of a skill tree than Skyrim does, but it has a thing where you put a point. There are tiers, right? And it does a thing where in order to get to a second tier skill or third tier skill, you have to have enough points in the other tier, the previous tiers, to even unlock the option to put a point in there. But once you put a point in at a skill, if you level up again, you can't put another skill point in that skill until you've done a little challenge to unlock the second tier of that skill. So, like, say you want to be really good with flying your ship. So you put a point in piloting. Well, that's a first level. That's a first tier skill. So you don't have to have anything else before that. You just put a point in flying. But and you say you level up again. Well, before you can put a second point in piloting, you have to have killed 10 ships. And in order to put a third point in there, you had to have killed 50 ships.
I get where they're coming from, but I kind of wish it was a little more geared to, like, if it's piloting, I would rather it be like, give me a piloting challenge, not a combat challenge. So like, killing other ships would be more like, oh, your blasters work better now, or something like that,
So
not like you can fly better.
What got me is, no, that's a 4th tier skill. That's energy weapons, ship energy weapons.
Okay. I'm jumping the gun like usual.
But like what I talk about, what kills me about Starfield is it's a great game. And this goes for basically all the Bethesda Game Studios games.
It's a great game.
It's a great game, But if you have limited time period to play the game, it's really hard to accomplish anything. Because, like, say you want to, specifically, I talk about modding weapons. Like, all right, I've only got like an hour and a half to play while the kids are napping or whatever. I hop on, I'm like, oh, I remember what I was working on. I want to have my character learn how to modify her weapons from semi-auto to fully auto. You can do that. I've got the skill point to put in there to do that. But I need to mod 10 weapons before I can put that point in. And I've only modded like 3 weapons. And so I have to go find weapons to mod. Find...
Didn't most weapons aren't most weapons moddable in Starfield?
All the weapons are moddable.
Okay, yeah, so it's like Fallout 4 where it's like
you have to yeah, it's a lot like Fallout 4. But you have to have material and you have to have the skill to put those mods on there. So it's a lot like Fallout 4. But I'm like, okay, I want to mod this weapon.
Oh, okay, yeah, the levels of science or the level of whatever to go.
And
okay,
so,
I hated that because I like energy weapons, but I didn't have enough of this. I could never go into the energy weapon tree.
So, like, say I want to make this semi-auto weapon full auto. Well, I need to mod 10 weapons in order to unlock the second tier so I can unlock the ability to do what I want to do. But in order to do that, I need to modify 10 weapons. So I have to go find 10 weapons. And then I have to mod 10 weapons, which means I'm probably going to put like whatever the cheapest scope or auto trigger or whatever barrel attachment on it.
Could you not technically have a weapon, mod it, demod it, mod it again, demod it, mod it again? Okay, I was about to say.
But you also have to have the materials to do that. You have to go find 10 weapons, which in itself, you hate loading screens. Man, let me tell you. Because you can't just, like Fallout, you can't just fast travel to like, oh, I know there's a bandit camp near here. You've got to power up your grav drive, pick a planet, travel to that planet, hope there's a place on the planet you can land and go and fight someone. Go loading screen as you land. Then there's a loading screen when you exit your ship. Then you have to travel to the place that has the people you can fight. And then 10 weapons is easy, but it's the materials. Because if you don't get the materials you need, or if you need a rare material and none of the shops are selling it, and even if they are selling it, you've got to fly to that shop, which means you got to fly to the planet. They've got to scan your ship for contraband. Then they give you the go ahead. Then you have to land at the spaceport. Then you have to, luckily now, you can fast travel directly from the cockpit to wherever you're trying to go if you've been there before. Check their inventory and hope they have it. If they don't have it, you got to go find it, and it's a big galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much just described why I stopped playing Skyrim.
Let's have a good conversation about Bethesda Game Studios. So, out of the Bethesda Game Studios games, you obviously have a massive preference for the Fallout series.
I want to say yes, but I mean, Morrowind's still the better world. Even
no. The ones specifically that fall into that formula. The one that has
Oblivion Beyond. Okay.
Yeah,
Oblivion. Yeah, of that. Yeah. No, I'm definitely Team Fallout for sure. That's the only reason Bethesda even gets any attention from me is because of that. Because until they do something a little more, sorry to say this, Elder Scrolls cool in the Elder Scrolls land, I'm just not gonna care. Like, I'd rather play Avowed.
Elder Scrolls, man.
Well, I'd just rather play Avowed. Like, Avowed's got a prettier looking world, and it's fun to play. Like, as a mage, I cast Blizzard from a book, and then I cast freaking Fireball, and then
Magic in Skyrim was completely...
I'm a big mage person.
They ruined Magic in Skyrim. It was way better in Oblivion. We could craft your own spells. You had a lot of different spell variety. And in Morrowind, you could just do crazy stuff.
Well, especially because in Morrowind, you'd find like bajillion different scrolls that did anything.
Well, they got rid of a lot of different like schools of magic, and then they started compressing the schools of magic as they went on. They just tried to simplify and streamline everything.
Which I don't mind simplification, because I mean, before anyone in the comments, if they even gets this part of the video or sees this, Avowed is a simple game, but like the simple parts are fun, not boring, bland, or a challenge. Not a challenge. What's the word I'm looking for?
Trial to play.
Thank you, Trial. Yeah, let's say where it's like holding a spiked hand grenade.
That is a hell of a simile.
I mean,
This game is fun. It is the antithesis of holding a spiked hand grenade.
Well, I mean, to me, that's something like some games are like that, where it's like, okay. In fact, we'll get. I'm not opposed to recycling content, or not content, recycling topics. So, like, we might do some like difficulty in gaming renewal, like second looks kind of thing later on, or second wind conversations, what we're going to call it, because I might have more to say on that later. But
okay.
But yeah.
All right.
But that's just me talking.
Do you think they should not use the same systems for both games? Do you think they should differentiate?
I think they just need to put that engine out to pasture and just start over with a new one, because obviously, okay, look, I had lots and lots and lots of hope for Starfield. As I've already established in the conversation we've been having tonight, I like sci-fi. So I'm like, okay, I am so super excited. I want to see. I mean, I want to see Morrowind in space. Really, what I want to see, but I want to see I'm like, what can they do with space? How are they going to, like, how realistic are they going to go? Like, how I can't wait to fly my own ship, kind of thing.
That's my
Hence,
favorite
you
part.
Don't. The little bits you get to in between where you're fighting combat, but it's like, let me land on the planets. I'm trying not to like let all my rage out at the
He's holding it at bay.
I wanted better. Let's put it that way. I wanted better. I wanted more.
You know what? I'll say it. I like Starfield. I played through it again recently. I beat it. Well, I beat it because once you play through the main story, spoilers. Once you play through the main story and the main universe, it starts over, kind of a new game plus thing. But
it's like a
continues going.
Repeat of the Big Bang. But the Big Bang happens.
You think of it like you jump to a parallel universe, and the parallel universe is different. Sometimes a lot of the things are the same. Sometimes it's different. And then after like 6 or 7 jumps, it starts getting weird. You start running into universes that are entirely populated by you. The thing that killed Starfield for me,
besides the title,
was nothing is the procedurally generated areas of interest on planets. It is the same building with the same enemy in the same spots with the same loot chests in the same area, repeated across 400 planets.
Yeah. I mean, I only played. But how many hours did I say earlier I played? I forgot.
25 Skyrim.
This one I got to like the main. I got into the main story where you're part of the organization or whatever, and then it's just.
Oh, in Starfield?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You get into Constellation is what it's called. I will say that some of the side quests and some of the main quests are fantastic, but in order for a Bethesda Game Studios game to thrive, it has to hit that, in my opinion, the critical part of the Bethesda Game Studio formula, which is you can insert yourself into the game world. Yes, there's a main quest, but you could just go off into the nether and do your own thing and live your own life in that world. And that's harder to do in Starfield because it's not as interesting in Starfield.
Yeah, how is
Galaxy
Fallout 76 a better looking game than Starfield when it came out?
I don't know.
Years
Starfield
and years.
Pretty. I will say that for Starfield.
Well, I mean, it's got fidelity, but is it pretty? Like, it's all very like. I mean, it's NASA punk, so it's a lot of grays and a lot of whites and stuff like that. It's very industrial
and like
kind of thing.
You're in and how you build your ship. Shipbuilding was my favorite part. But
I
part
just
of the
mean
reason that I played the game, a big part of the reason I played the game was shipbuilding. Once you beat the game, you unlock like this intra-dimensional super alien ship, and you can't modify it. You can still fly your other older, less good ships, and modify them.
I probably would have cared more about the shipbuilding part if the rest of the game was good for me. I don't mean to be so flippant and to throw off your opinion of saying the game's good.
Enjoyable to you.
yeah. If I enjoyed the base cycle.
I'd like the game better if it wasn't shit.
I know. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, the flow drive, you like some garbage ass games. But no, I'm not trying to do that.
That's true. Apparently, I like some games. I really like some games. Some people just hate.
For me, I guess I probably had more writing on it than you. Because okay, I'm not gonna sit here and say you're a Bethesda apologist. He is, guys. I'm kidding. And sit here and say you're a Bethesda apologist, but you do have more leeway in terms of like the types of jank.
My patience, as one of our friends put it years ago, my patience for BS in games is a lot more tolerant than most people's.
Yeah, and I'm pretty tolerant compared to other people, especially the other people in our group as well. You take it a little bit step further, because I also have the, like I said earlier, the sci-fi and hopes I had for it and preconceived notions of it that I was hoping for it. It didn't help that I played Prey around the same time that game was coming out. And that game's 2017. That's a game real old, but I played Prey. And side tangent, play Prey. If you haven't played it, play Prey. It's a fantastic game.
It's a good game.
That coming from Prey to is just,
they're two completely different types of games, but
yes, but like just take that aside. The fact that it came out almost a decade prior and had more stuff to do in it than you could in Starfield.
So that's the substance part of it, and I hit on it in the video I'm working on too. But it's Bethesda Game Studio games are a fully stocked gourmet kitchen. You can make whatever kind of fantastic meal in that kitchen you want, but it's going to take time, commitment, and you have to know what you want to do. But sometimes when you play a game, you just want to eat a meal. You don't want to spend 3 hours preparing it. We're going to wrap it up here. And you know what? We might actually come back with a more focused discussion on Bethesda games and why what issues you have, so you can take time to gather your thoughts, and maybe some changes they can make that would make you like the games a little bit better.
Yeah, because I don't wish them to close. I don't want them to fail as a studio
or anything like that. It's just if it's you are not beholden to. You must like this game.
Yeah, I just feel like we can no longer. They're resting on their laurels of Oblivion / Skyrim, and they haven't progressed beyond that. Well, they haven't changed the formula. They haven't changed the engine. They haven't. I mean, they changed the formula a little bit, like Fallout 76. I don't know. I can't speak for. Like I said, Fallout 76 is pretty much Fallout 4 online. Like that's the only.
Are there factions to join?
Yes.
Do you create a character?
Yes.
Do you assign points?
Yes.
Does it have a dialogue system that zooms in on people creepily?
Yes.
And what was the other thing? Oh, does it have the
workbenches?
A law and like a bounty system or some kind of karma system?
Yeah.
Okay. But hey, thanks for staying with us as long as you guys have through this meandering wasteland of Bethesda Game Studios. We might revisit this.
Like a Bethesda title, this is appropriate. We lost the main plot and then just went off.
We stayed way away from the main plot. We went off and did side quests. We picked up a can off a table and carried it through the strip. So we could throw it at Mr. House.
Pick up that can.
Wrong game.